This is the bottom flap of section number 3 of your Unit 3 Quadratic Functions flipbook. The essential question on this video is, how do I graph a vertex form quadratic? Again, as a reminder, class, make sure you are writing down the essential question for each section so you know what we are attempting to answer in this video. So how do I graph a vertex form quadratic? Well, you can see that the steps for graphing a vertex form are look quite a bit easier than graphing a standard form, and they are, because the vertex form gives us something very important, and that's the vertex. It tells us what the vertex is right in the equations. Let's go through these steps together and see how this is done. Step number 1, identify the vertex with h and k. Remember, class, our vertex form quadratic has an a value in it, an h value in it, and a k value in it. And step number 1 is asking us to identify h and k. Looking at our equation, the h value, here's what you got to ask yourself, is it positive or negative? I want you to remember, class, a vertex form quadratic has in the equation x minus h. That means the h value is a flipped sign. So the h value of this equation is actually 3. Remember, flip the h, and then we keep the k value. So the k value here is -1. Keep the sign of the k value, flip the sign of the h value. So we've got h is positive 3, k is -1. And that means our vertex is found at h comma k, which is equal to 3 comma -1. So we already found our vertex. That's the easy part, much easier than standard form. Step 2, put the vertex in row 3 of the table. So step 2 down here, we're going to put our vertex. There is our x value. There is our y value. Step number 3, fill in the x column with 2 values below the vertex and 2 values above. All right, so I'm just going to go, let's put 3 here for step number 3. I'm going to go 2 values below the x value of the vertex. So I just do 3 minus 1 is 2, 2 minus 1 is 1, and I'll go 2 values above the vertex. Now, class, honestly, it doesn't matter what numbers you put in here. As long as you pick 2 numbers below and 2 numbers above, you'll be fine, but it actually makes more sense and goes a lot faster if you use the exact same difference. So 3 minus 1 is 2, 2 minus 1 is 1. 3 plus 1 is 4, excuse me, and 4 plus 1 is 5. There is step number 3. Step number 4, calculate the y values of the table. Remember how we do that? We're going to just use our calculator and plug these x values into our equation. Let's do one of them right now because we have room for that. So I'm going to go ahead and put step number 4. Let's figure out f of 1. So we're going to find the value of our function f when x equals 1. That's going to be equal to 1/2 times 1 minus 3 squared minus 1. Notice I just plugged in the value of 1 for x. Let's go ahead and simplify that. Actually, remember, I forgot, we can do this in our calculator without actually breaking it up into different steps. So let's go ahead and put that in our calculator. And I'll bring up a calculator. Now remember, class, we can go ahead and just put the 1/2 in the calculator along with the rest of the equation. What you want to remember is 1/2 is 1 divided by 2. And we're going to put that in our calculator in parentheses so it knows that this term is separate from the other term. So I'm going to put parentheses 1 divided by 2, close parentheses, that's multiplied by this. So I'm going to do times parenthesis 1 minus 3, close parenthesis, let's square that term, and then minus 1. So you can see we can do it all in one shot. Put in the 1/2, or 1 divided by 2, close the parenthesis, now it knows there's a 1/2 there. Then multiply that times the 1 minus 3 squared, and then subtract 1. When we press the equal sign, we will get a value of 1, which is a correct value. So the answer to f of 1 is equal to 1, and I'll go ahead and plug that in. Let's write this down. This is step 4. The rest of these you can do on your own and verify. This is going to be 1. This is going to be negative 0.5. The 4 value, I'll scroll up here, is going to be negative 0.5, and plug in 5, and you're also going to get 1. Remember, the axis of symmetry tells us on a parabola that once we figure out the 2 points that are the same distance below the vertex, if we do 2 points the same distance above the vertex, we're going to get the same y values, just reflected or reversed. So now we've got our 5 points. Take a look at question number 5. Step number 5. Plot the 5 points and connect to form a parabola. Let's do that. 1, 1 is our first point. 2, and then negative 0.5, which is right here. It's halfway between the 2 units. 3, negative 1. 4, and also negative 0.5. And 5, and positive 1. So there is the shape and location of our parabola. I will do my best to connect those together properly. I'm going to be a little bit off. Just bear with me on that. It's hard to draw these. You can do a much better job when you connect them. Remember, class, when you connect your parabola, please try to keep the arrows from going straight up and down. Remember, they always continue on left and right to infinity. So the bigger the parabola is, the wider those arrows will get. Now take a look at your parabola. If it looks like those points form a parabola, then you're good to go. If one of those points is out here somewhere or over here somewhere, you know when you connect them you're not going to get a parabola. That means you've made a calculation error in your table. And those are the steps for graphing the parabola of a vertex form quadratic.